Hey there, everybody. Travis Huckaby here. Just wanted to say thanks for everyone showing up this evening. We're going to talk about how to locate and catch fish with the umbrella rig, kind of do an introductory into the umbrella rig, or as other people know it as the A rig. But it's about 6:59. I'm going to give everybody about a minute or two more to get checked in here, and we'll get this thing started. All right, everybody. 7:01. Guys, numbers are climbing as we speak, so we'll go ahead and get this thing started. All right, guys. Like I said, this evening we're going to talk about how to locate and catch fish with the umbrella rig, and go over. It's pretty much going to be an introduction into the umbrella rig, and kind of from beginner to intermediate to kind of how to really locate fish, use your electronics, and put them in the boat. So we'll get this party started. A little bit about myself. My name is Travis Huckaby. I'm one of Navionics' marine specialists. I've been competitive bass fishing for 9 years. Last 3 years, I've been fishing the FLW Costa Series. Here's a little bit of stuff about my past fishing credentials, however you'd want to say it. It's one of those things, very, very privileged to be part of the team and enjoying every minute of it. So move on a little bit. All right, guys, like I said, we're going to go over the types of umbrella rigs, the setups I throw them on, the specific baits that I put on my umbrella rigs, and then when and where and how to throw the umbrella rig. And guys, I've had an email change, so if you have any questions, you feel free to email me at goldprec@gmail.com. My thuckaby@navionics.com is down at the moment, so you can reach me at goldprec@gmail.com if you have any questions, or shoot, even if you want to chat about some fishing stuff if you have any questions. All right, guys, we're going to get into this deal. Umbrella rigs, commonly known as the A rig. There's multiple ones out there, guys. It's one of those deals that you have bladed umbrella rigs, standard wire umbrella rigs, and when I say standard wire, it's kind of the standard diameter of the wire, so the strength. And then also you have finesse light wire rigs, which I get into. They have a special place in my arsenal for the spotted bass, crappie, anything of the sort, guys. These umbrella rigs are one of those baits that you can take them out and throw them, and it's not it's not one species directed at. You know, you could focus on catching largemouth, you could focus on catching spots, but it's one of those deals. It's kind of funny. I mean, I've been out practicing for tournaments, especially like on Clear Lake, and been out there in practice and even in the tournament throwing the umbrella rig, and rod loads up. Oh, feels pretty good. Feel it bump again. Reeling it in, end up being 2.5 pound crappie. It's one of those things, guys. This is one of those baits that, you know, you're pretty much matching the hatch, which is bait fish, and it's a forage for a lot of different species of fish. So crappie, striper, largemouth, spotted bass. I can't keep the spotted bass in this area in California away from this thing. They really, really clobber this thing. And like I said, the crappie, it's hilarious. So also, guys, they make them in a 3-wire, a 5-wire, and a 7-wire. Now, when I'm specifically saying the amount of wires, it's how many baits you can put on this thing. I mean, I've seen some ones that people have made in their garage where they're like a 12-wire. Looks like you're throwing a chandelier at something, you know. But you got the 3-wire, the 5-wire, and the 7 is pretty common. The main thing about the umbrella rig, guys, is the state regulations where you're fishing will limit the amount of hooks you use. So, for instance, I'm out here in California. In California, we're allowed to use 3 exposed hooks. So, on this bait in this picture here, you see you have the head of the bait up there in my hand, which I tie the line to. Then I have the top 2 baits, which would be the 2 baits on your right-hand side of the picture. Those are what we call the dummy baits. Those things just have a bait screw, like a screw lock. I screwed those baits on there. Those have no hooks in it and no weight. Then the center one that comes directly out of the center of the umbrella rig, I use a bait with a live hook. And one of the kind of little thing about that, guys, is I'll use an extra split ring, or just use like an extra split ring or snap swivel to extend that bait back a little bit. I want that bait kind of trailing. And a lot of the times I don't want to get ahead of myself, but with the bait in the center, I like to go a little bit bigger of a bait. So I'll get into that when I talk about bait selection here. But just as far as showing you guys the live hooks on this thing, I run a live hook on the center and then the bottom 2. And a lot of the times the bottom 2 baits, guys, because it kind of, if the bait's running, you have the top 2. These I leave unweighted. In the bottom 2, I'll put the weighted jig heads in them, or a weighted swim bait hook, and that keeps the bait tracking straight. If you try to put the weights up on here, it'll try to roll the bait. I keep the weighted baits on the very bottom 2 to keep it kind of keel, you know, like a boat, the V, kind of keep it running straight and keel in the water. So that's California, guys. You're allowed 3 hooks. So you can run the center hook, and then the bottom 2 are live hooks also. So I keep my baits on top, no hook, my center, and my bottom 2. Those three baits will have live hooks exposed. So that's the way I set it up here in California. When we go to, like for instance, our tournament out in Lake Havasu in Arizona, that's only a 2 hook regulated state, where we go out there and we're only allowed to run 2 exposed hooks. So it's one of those deals. You got to strategically place the baits with how you're comfortable. I always will put my center one extended back a little bit, and I'll always run one of my live hooks there. So it's one of those things, guys, just kind of strategically placing it. And then, I mean, you can go, if you're from back east, I've heard you can have 5 hooks, 7 hooks, just kind of unlimited. So I'm not really familiar with the back east stuff, guys. So whenever you're throwing the umbrella rig or prepping it to hit the water, I'd definitely take a look about your state regulations, because, you know, Department of Fish and Game could really ruin a fishing day if you're not following the proper procedures. So always take a look at your state regulations on that, guys, whenever you get out to throw these things, because These baits here, guys. I mean, like I said, it's a proven fish catcher. This thing's like magic. I mean, even whenever it first come out, the Bassmaster Elites banned them from tournament use, and FLW allowed it. Bassmaster banned it. It was just kind of, when it came out, it was a wow factor where it was like all the guys had to do was pretty much go out there and chuck and wind these things. The guys that were really figuring out how to locate the fish were catching them big time. And it's one of those things where I've had a few days where I've caught 2 to 3 fish in one cast on these things. So whenever you locate the fish, you match your bait with the hatch, this thing will really perform and put some fish in the boat. All right, guys, on this here, at the very top, I said it has bladed standard wire. This bait you see here is the Eco Pro Tungsten Roll Tide Burst. This bait here, guys, it's a phenomenal bait, phenomenal rig. It's one of those deals. It's cheap. It's only about $10. So whenever you're throwing a rig like that, you're not as hesitant to throw it into some cover. Get a little risky with it. Put that thing where places the fish are going to be. But like I said, this one's $10. Performs excellent. There's a lot of different rigs on the market. It's one of those deals. They range anywhere from $10 to I've seen them for 40, 45. And then that's just the rig itself, not even counting baits. So you can kind of play with different baits. The couple of the good ones, like I said, this Eco Pro Tungsten Roll Tide Burst is a great one. I have an arsenal of these. And as far as the Finesse Light Wire, and even the standard wire, guys, the Yum brand makes a great rig also. And then River to Sea has a bomber chute. That thing is a great rig. It's a little heavy duty, but that bomber chute from River to Sea is an awesome striped bass catcher because it's got some heavy duty wires on it, and you can lay into some big striped bass with that thing and not have to worry about any of the wires breaking, snapping off in the head, or doing anything crazy. That thing's a beast. So if you're into the bigger game fish, I definitely recommend taking a look at the River to Sea bomber chute. I've caught some 20, 24, 25-pound stripers on it, and it had no issue getting those things to the boat. So when I talk about the bladed baits, guys, this one here in the picture is bladed. It's got the willow leaves on it. I like throwing the bladed rigs myself. I'm going to touch base about when and where I throw that, but just kind of explaining what I have here. The bladed is the umbrella rig has the blades on it. Then you have the standard rig wire, or the standard wire rig that has just the wire. There's no added flash. There's no blades. So that works excellent also in clear water conditions. And that's another thing we'll tap into here pretty soon. So, all right, guys, I went over the amount of hooks you could use on this, the wire setup, the 3-wire, the 5-wire, the 7-wire. They all have their place. I don't know if I have any of my California Delta fishermen, any of the guys that fish around a lot of the heavy cover grass. I like throwing the 3-wire out there on the Delta. It's one of those deals. You got 3 wires. You can run 3 hooks. And when I get into the bait setup here, you could run a swim bait with a swim bait hook on it that's weighted, and rig your baits Texas, weedless and stuff. So when you're out there, you can throw that thing around all the grass and up in the toolies and be able to bring it back without hanging up on a bunch of grass. So I'll get into that here when we talk about bait selection. All right, we're going to get on to the next page. All right, everybody. We're going to talk about the setups I use to throw my Alabama rigs. There's one huge thing about throwing Alabama rigs, guys. It's a bulky bait, as you can tell. It's got some weight to it, especially if you're going to start throwing it out there in the deeper water. You're going to run some, 1/8 to 1/4 ounce jig heads on it. And it's a heavier bait. It's like going out and throwing a swim bait all day. It'll wear you out. And without the right setup, guys, it'll definitely do that. It'll wear you out. So whenever I'm throwing my setup, guys, I throw it on a Phoenix Maxim rod. It's a 711 heavy, which it sounds, it's not that heavy of a rod. It's they call it heavy, but it's got a decent backbone, but a very fast tip. So when the fish gets it, the rod tip will load up, and then you just kind of keep pressure on them, keep cranking. But the main thing is, guys, I like that 711. I like a little bit longer of a rod because you can get some good leverage and cast that bait out there quite a ways. So longer the rod kind of helps the geometry of launching that bait. It's one of those deals like a deep diver crankbait. When you're throwing those heavy baits, you want a longer rod, get that thing out there. Same principle. You got the heavier Alabama rig. You want to make some long casts with it, and you want the rod to do the work. So having that longer rod, I believe, definitely helps you get it out there. Now, as far as my reels guys, I throw the Lew's BB1 wide spool reel. I like the wide spool reel because the line comes off of the wide spools uh, real smooth. It doesn't haul, it doesn't spin extremely fast off the spool and make it hard to control. You get a wider spool on there, it comes across off the reel smoother, and you can cast it a little farther, makes it a little more controllable. So that is a huge key, to getting your cast, getting that bait out there. Because also, guys, one of the main things about this bait is whenever you're throwing that thing out there, you want to use a fluid, a smooth motion when you cast that thing, because these baits will tumble and do all sorts of crazy things in the air. If you start really trying to get it out there and you start whipping it, that bait will tumble. So trying to keep a good smooth cast, smooth motion keeps the bait intact on the way out without as much tumble. Because guys, always pay attention throwing your Alabama rigs or umbrella rigs to where the line tie is. Because when you tie that bait up, you got the line going to the tie. After a few casts, guys, that line sometimes will, if it tumbles, it'll come underneath the line tie and the head of the and under the head of the Alabama rig. And when it does that, guys, that's a disaster. Something happens that a good fish eats it, it's gonna snap the line pretty quick. And also, sometimes you might not catch it where you'll make a few casts and it'll actually untangle itself in the air, but you'll have a crimp in your line, a little weird. You'll see the way the lines kind of form, that it was hung up under the bait, so it creates a weak spot. So I always keep an eye on my A rig where the line ties at. It's one of those things, guys. It's like you don't want to load this bait up with all your good swim baits. It's whenever this thing's said and done, you could have $20 into the whole rig. Heck, there's times that I've loaded my rig with trash fish at Clear Lake. I mean, I've ran some pretty different looking things playing with some fish, and I've had, like I said, trash fish on it that are 12, 14 bucks each. Had 5 of them on there. And when you start throwing a rig like that, you definitely you want to stay on top of your line tie. You don't want to sling that thing and have it break off and head off into the abyss and lose your rig plus all your swim baits. So, and also, you don't want to definitely load up on a good one, especially on game day, and have that thing just feel like someone hit the line with scissors and snap off just due to the fact that it wrapped around the head of the Alabama rig. So always keep in mind, check your line tie on your A rig and make sure it's in good condition. All right, guys, talking about the BB1 wide spool, I like to throw a 6/4-to-1 reel. My retrieve with this thing, I'm going to get into a little bit. I'll get into here deeper in the program. But I like the 6/4-to-1 ratio. I can speed up at a pretty good pace, or 6/4, I could slow down and really bump the bottom and stuff like that. So I believe a 6/4 is kind of a happy medium. It's one of those deals that with the 6/4, like I said, you can slow down or speed up. If I go my 5/4-to-1, it's one of those deals. It's like really creep it and bump bottom, feel what's going on, but you can't really start burning water with it. So it's one of those things, like I said, 6/4-to-1 for me, I'm comfortable. I can slow down enough and keep my own composure with it, reeling that slow. Because it's one of those things, guys, these fish could want it quick. These fish could want it bump and bottom. you got to let the fish tell you for that day. So it's one of those deals when you got something that you can't reel it fast enough. If they're really going to react to it moving faster, you got to speed it up. So that 6'4" helps you out. So 6'4" to 1, guys, is my happy medium. So moving on to the next. For my finesse umbrella rigs, guys, they're a smaller rig, not quite as spread out the whole nine. They're smaller. They got light wire, lighter weight. I tend to either throw that on full 15-pound fluoro, or I will throw a 30-pound braid backing with a 15-pound fluoro leader to it, depending on if it's extremely clear water. It's one of those things that I've kind of played with it some. You have half a dozen people say one way, half a dozen the other. I got guys that throw it straight on braid, and I got guys that think they need a leader or think they use fluoro. And it's all about the water clarity and all that good stuff. But also, guys, it's like in my head, it's these fish are eating a bait that's coming off of a wire. So why can't I throw braid? So whenever I'm in a place that's got cover and all that, I definitely I'll throw straight braid. But if I'm up on the mother lode lakes, Clearwater lakes, I will throw a 30-pound backing. I tie my 15-pound fluoro to my 30-pound braid with an Alberto knot. That's been a pretty good knot for me, guys. A lot of guys ask me how I connect my fluoro to my braid, and I use the Alberto knot. And like I said, it's been a good knot, knock on wood, so far for me. I've been throwing it for about 3 years, and it holds up really well. So that's 30-pound braid to 15-pound fluoro, or if you want to load all fluoro or all braid, 30 and 15 is the two numbers that I use for the lighter wire finesse, smaller A rigs, and lighter weight. And if I'm fishing for spotted bass, if I'm at a place that's predominant spotted bass, I'll use that rig right there, the 30-pound or the 15-pound fluoro, and usually that handles them no problem. All right, guys, stepping up, especially if you're going to start playing with stripers, throwing a little bit of heavier rig. I'll either do a 50-pound braid all the way to the rig, or 50-pound to a 20-pound fluorocarbon leader. And that right there, and same thing, Alberto knot connecting the two, or straight braid. Now, with that, it's for the heavier fish. If I'm going to Clear Lake, out here, it's known for solid fish, a lot of 4+ pounders. I mean, any given cast out there, you have the potential of catching a 6 to 9 pounder. Same with the Delta. The Delta, though, I'm a lot less worried about. I'll throw a 3-rig, a 3-wire rig out there on 50-pound braid straight to it, because it's dingier water, grass, a lot of stuff. I'm not worried about those fish being line shy. So, like I said, guys, 30-pound for the light, 50-pound for the heavy duty stuff and the standard size rigs. And also, like I said earlier, 50-pound for the stripers or better. I've actually went up to 65-pound braid for the stripers. And that 30-pound and 15-pound mark, the more finesse things, it's for the finesse rig, and for if you're a crappie fisherman, that would work extremely well. You would have no issue whatsoever putting the crappie in the boat with that. So that's that, guys. A little bit longer of a rod, 6:4 ratio reel. Braid or fluoro, both works. Like I said, I'm going to kind of use my own judgment on the water clarity and all that good stuff. The water clarity and the cover you're going to be fishing around. Like I said, I'm going to get into when and where to fish these things. So we'll get into that a little more. But here's the baseline I use on what I use to throw my setup, for the umbrella rig. Next page. All right, guys, here's a picture of the baits that I use frequently. They're not in order here. On the very top, what you're looking at is the Eco Pro Tungsten Swing Shad. This is a bait, catches a lot of fish. It's one of those deals. It's that ring body. Displaces a lot of water. Comes in all sorts of different sizes. The two I use I'll use the 3.8 and the 4.8. And what I do, guys, earlier I mentioned I'll use this a bigger bait on that center wire. So what I do is I'll run 3.8s and then the 4.8 single on the center line, on the center wire, and extend it back, have it back just a little bit more. So it's kind of like the, the bigger one in the group that's a little slower. He's lagging back. That fish is tracking it. He's going to come up, and it's a lot of, he wants a big, he wants a one and done type of meal. So he's going to go for the bigger one, and he's in the back of the pack kind of lagging. That fish is going to shoot for him. That's what I want. So a lot of times, guys, I've found that throwing that bigger bait on that center wire really helps that fish key on the bait with the hook in it. You don't really, it just makes it key on that one that's kind of lagging back a little bit. It really keys on that where he doesn't try to, you don't get as many fish smacking the other baits, especially the top two with the no hooks in them. You want that fish to get the one with the hook in it, of course. So if you're limited to hooks, I definitely, like I said, anytime I'm throwing a live hook with a little bit bigger bait, and I'm putting it back just a little bit further than the rest because I want him kind of lagging back. I want him to be the easy meal, and I want that good hook in him. So that's a great bait. Displaces water with the ribs, has a good tail action. Check them out. That's the Eco Pro Tungsten Swing Shad. Another bait, guys, that's a huge key player, especially with the spotted bass and crappie and even stripers. I mean, I don't know. It's just a really proven bait in my book. It's the River to Sea Rig Walker. It's an awesome profile to it. It's a slender profile. It really matches the hatch of a lot of the pond smelt around here in our some of the motherlode lakes, the shad, stuff like that. It has a good profile to it, good design, swims really good, has good tail action. And the nice thing about it is, guys, it's durable. That bait right there, you can catch numbers of fish on it. And it's like they won't rip the tail off of it like the other baits. It's just a real durable material, and it swims really well. I definitely recommend taking a look at that bait also, especially if you're throwing for stripers or anything like that, because it's a very durable bait. Next one, guys, down. That is also the Eco Pro Tungsten Swing Shad that I have rigged on that's the owner flash hook. I'll have that in the next one of the next few pages here. That's an awesome way to throw that thing. Kind of gives it a little more flash. That's one of the baits, guys. I was telling you, I like to throw like on the Delta on a 3-wire. It comes through the grass really well, plus has a little extra flash to it. I'll run a 3-wire rig with no blades on it and just use that setup right there. It's its own little underspin, 3 underspins, and weedless. Comes through that grass or through wood real easy. And like I said, it's one of those deals, guys. I'll tie that just straight to braid if I'm throwing it around heavy cover. And guys, I've caught some big fish doing that. Last but not least, this is a spotted bass and crappie. Just don't want to sound blunt, but killer. This bait here, it's the Easy Shiner. It is an awesome bait, slender profile, great colors, and guys, the spotted bass and crappie in the mother lode and here in California smash this thing. So it's one of those things, guys. This is a bait that really performs, but make sure you got quite a few of them. You will go through these. They tear pretty easy, so make sure you got some Mend It or buy multiple bags of them, because there's nothing worse than running out of some swim baits when you're on a hot bite. So these 3 baits right here, guys, this Easy Shiner, the Eco Pro Swing Shad, and the River to Sea Rig Walker are 3 of my go-to baits to get bit. And it's one of those deals. They just flat out get bit. So one of those things, guys. There they are. Match the hatch. I'll also drop a little bit on you about for the beginners. If you're not an avid umbrella rig, A-rig thrower, whatever you start out, guys, you always want to get out and you got to build confidence. Confidence is key to catching fish. Now, I always recommend when you first start out throwing this thing, downsize your baits to get the bites. It's one of those deals that my first outing with these things about 5, 6 years ago, well, I was out on Lake Oroville and I was throwing the 3/8 and the 4/8, and I caught, I'd say, about a dozen fish on it. They were all pretty good size, but I caught, about a dozen of them all day long, and I was like, man, I thought I'd catch more than this. And the next day I went out to practice. I downsized just playing around. I went to an 1/8 ounce ball head, and I had some little small 2-inch grubs. And it was like a Mr. Twister grub. It had a twister tail on it. It was in like a smoke color with a little bit of flake in it. And man, that was phenomenal. That was actually fun. It was one of those things, the size, we still caught a few good ones on it, but the size was a hair smaller, but it was definitely one of those baits that you would want to throw if you got in trouble trying to put a limit in the boat on tournament day, or just trying to take out, go out for the weekend and catch fish and have fun. Downsize a little bit, guys, and you'd be amazed. It's one of those things, a lot of those fish will eat that. I mean, I can't even begin to tell you how many fish we caught just throwing a 2-inch grub on a little 1/8 ounce dart head or 1/8 ounce ball head on that small finesse rig. Oh man, they ate that thing. It was amazing. So that builds your confidence. Then you can step up, start catching some of the bigger fish, running the bigger baits, and it just builds your confidence, guys, because that's the biggest thing on the water. You don't want to be out there and throwing something that you don't feel that you can knock it out of the park with. You just got to have the confidence. So building confidence in it is key, because this thing will flat out get bit. All right, guys, next page. Here we go. This is the owner flashy swimmer. That's it on the left-hand side. That bait right there, guys, that's also one of the 3.8 shad style baits. Flat out performs, same as that Eco Pro tungsten swing shad. I use both of those baits on that flashy swimmer style. And like I said, with the 3.8, guys, as you see here, this is a 3/0, 3/16 ounce. I'll throw that specific size, or I will lighten it up a little bit to 1/8 ounce if I'm going to throw multiple baits, like if I'm going to throw the 3. Sometimes, guys, it's awesome to run that bait right there on the center hook with a little flash to it out the back, and that'll actually key a couple more bites for you also. So, just trying to stack the odds in your favor. All right. And also, with that, like I said, what I'm showing you here is the style of baits, and this is about the hook styles. So we talked about the weedless flash swimmer. The next one here, guys, is the far right. That is the Dirty Jigs Matt Allen swim bait jig head. That one, guys, is a proven fish catcher. He's got an excellent hook on it. You can get heavy duty, or you can get finesse heads. Perfect for crappie, perfect for spotted bass. You can get the heavy duty ones. This is a heavy duty one here. That I had rigged for Lake Don Pedro, looking to catch some solid largemouth. And like I said, the Dirty Jigs, those come with an amazing hook in them, especially if you get the heavy duty one, not the finesse one. You can catch some big fish and not have to worry about them straightening out that hook. So that's a huge key to me, guys. And then, like I said, sometimes if you're a crappie fisherman, you can get away with just a standard 1/8 or 1/4 ounce dart head or ball head jig, and that'll do the trick. That'll put the crappie in the boat or the spotted bass. So that's kind of my gauge. The gauge of the wire, the size of the aught, that the 3/0 there I use in all my 3.8 swim baits. I will step up to a 4/0 on the 4.8 swim baits on the center. If I'm running that on the center, I will run the 4/0 on the 4.8 also. So have yourself a little selection of the 3/0 and 4/0 in the swim bait style jig hooks. So go on to the next one. Something pretty cool, guys. This year, we're going to see the Rig Walker come out with a new eye on the belly of it. You can actually add, if you want to it, its own little spinner on the bottom to turn it into an underspin. Awesome feature. And look at that bait, guys. It's got some awesome fish catching colors, and that hook in that thing is serious. It will land you a good striper, and boy, it'll put a largemouth boat in a hurry. And also, like I said, that thing would land an 18-pound, 20-pound bigger striper with no worries. It doesn't look like much, but it's one of those baits, guys, with that hook in it. It's got the backbone to do it. So cool little feature. The line tie on the bottom. You can put a little blade on it, make its own little underspin. Very cool feature for 2018 from the guys from River to Sea. Good addition to the Rig Walker. All right, guys. The main thing about throwing the A-rig is kind of the old saying, what separates the men from the boys, you know? There's guys that'll get out on the lake and throw the rig like a spinner bait. They'll turn the trolling motor up and burn the bank. And hey, if that's your style, cover as much water, hey, more power to you. I understand. Like I said, confidence is everything. But I really key on using my electronics, guys. It's one of those deals that you're portraying to throw a bait ball. So the closer you can get that thing around bait and an active school of fish, the more you'll get bit. You got better odds. Always stack the odds in your favor. So like right here, guys, this was fun. I got into them. This was at Lake McClure, actually. Found some bait. The fish were just loaded in there. And I mean, it was kind of one of those things. I got in a flurry and caught about 9 fish just back to back to back to back. And I'm like, man, taking off the last one, I'm like, I need to get a picture of this. This is just too fun. And it just had all the right ingredients. So guys, like I said, use your electronics. I'm a huge fan of my Humminbird Helix units and the Humminbird Solix. They're very, very clear units and very simple to use. So always, if you're in the market for a new electronic, give them a look. A new graph, definitely give them a look. Also, guys, the Navionics mapping card, I highly recommend. You know, the compatibility is a little different on the fact that it varies per graph. You got there's 2 cards that I really prefer for freshwater would be the Navionics Regions card, which will work on most any of the graphs, you know, any of the Humminbird, Lowrance, all the popular name units out there. And then whenever you get into the bigger units like the Helix unit or the HDS units, stuff like that, that's got more RAM in them, or whatever you want to call them. Not the biggest tech guy on that side, but the ones that have a little more capacity in them will run the Navionics Hot Maps Platinum card. That's an awesome card, guys. It has the tides. It has all the sonar chart information, which is the 1-foot depth contours. And all that stuff is all the topographical features that are in the lakes. So it lets you know what's going on underneath you that's, you know, you can't just see driving down a bank. So it's a huge key. Stack the odds in your favor, you know. So also, Navionics mobile app, guys, take a look at it. It's I believe in the fishing industry, it's hands down one of the best tools for the money. It's only like $10, $9.99. It's amazing. It's amazing, guys. It has all the features, all the topographical features on it, and even more than what you could do with a lot of the graph systems. I mean, we got color-coded depth ranges. We can adjust water levels for fluctuating water levels. There's fishing ranges, safe water level marks, all sorts of awesome feature, guys, that help you catch more fish and also boat safer. It's one of those deals that you get out there and you can pretty much follow the contours. You know if you're getting shallow, you know what's ahead of you, so you're not pretty much running blind. And it's one of those things, guys. Trust me, I've hit the water, left my card behind because I was doing a demo the night before, and no joke, I've got to the ramp, turned around, drove an hour home to get my card to go back to hit the lake because it just was uncomfortable to hit the water without it and not know what was going on. So, but that's one of those things, guys, that separates the guys that burn the banks to the guys that are keying on creek channels, humps, submerged points, the stuff that you guys can't see that's under the water. Navionics highlights it all for you. So, get into the next feature here. This is what I was talking about. This is Navionics mobile app here. This is in the advanced map options. This is how you color code stuff. This just came out, guys, about a month ago. And this is a huge, huge, huge feature for me. It's one of those deals when you get out on the water and you put a pattern together where you're catching fish in certain ranges, certain depths. This is where it really comes into play. This is from about 2 weeks ago. I was out on the Mother Lode up here fishing New Melones Reservoir, and the color coding, I was catching all my fish in 25 to 30 feet of water on submerged points and submerged island tops. So I was able to go into my Navionics mobile app and set my color coding for fish, the color coded depths to the specific depths that I was fishing. So what I have here, I have everything from 0 feet to 24 feet in red, and everything from 25 feet to 30 feet in orange. So it really highlights the spots within the area that will be holding fish as far as the pattern I got going on and depths. So got some island tops here, got some submerged points. It really puts the odds in your favor. And it's one of those things, guys, like I said, this year is what Navionics does for you. It shows you your topographical features. You'd be cruising over there, and like it says, Hazard Shoal. If you were running the Navionics mobile app or Navionics mapping card in your unit, you'd never know that. So you're running right over the top of just some key structures that really holds fish. And also, if the lake level drops, that hazardous shoal right there that Navionics calls out, it may not have a water buoy on it, and in low water, it could cost you a lower unit. So it's one of those deals, guys. It's safety plus helps catch more fish. So the three things that are the two main keys right now during the summertime and in the fall, I always look for submerged points and submerged island tops. I like that due to the fact that you have to be a little more advanced with your electronics and not just a guy that's going to go down the bank or drive to a point that he can see. I like fishing the stuff kind of on the unbeaten path type of say. I want to stack all the odds I can in my favor. So this here, guys, is a huge key factor. And what you got here is, like I said, it makes it really, the way with the color coding is the orange, it's 25 to 30 feet. And it really shows you what's going on with the points and with the island top there. So that's what you're looking at. A lot of guys will question, okay, well, how do you really understand the topographical features? Here, this is awesome. This kind of does helps you out, does your homework for you. And whenever you use this feature, you can be running across a lake and just take a look at that, and you know exactly where you're going to go. There's 4 spots you can hit real fast and be gone. You can roll in there, spend 10 minutes on each of those. If you get bit, good. If you don't, fly to the next one. Now, without the Navionics, you'd never know that was there unless you were driving out. Say you come into the back of that thing, you can see the point there on the right-hand side. It's got the orange in the back. And fish that, and drive off. You're like, oh, wow, okay, there's a flat out here. This point extends out. You'd have to be paying attention to your graph. You flew up there, threw a few casts, grabbed your soda or your drink or a sandwich, you're leaving across out of there, you're not paying attention to your graph. You'd never know that point extended out. And then boom, there's the winning payload sitting out there off of that flat point that you never knew was out there. So, like I said, stack the odds in your favor, guys. And like I said, the Navionics products are really inexpensive and a huge tool to put more fish in the boat. So once again, submerged points, submerged island tops, key factors. Like I said, it's a little less pressured. It's one of those things, especially a lot of the weekend warriors don't pound on it as much. Um, it's one of those things. Yeah, a lot of the tournament anglers will understand that, but it's one of those deals that put the odds in your favor. Try to hit the stuff that's a little less pressured. Next one. Key feature, guys. We're coming up on the tail end of summer right now. Pretty much from the end of August on through middle October, end of October. I really like running up. A lot of our motherlode lakes around here in California are fed by a river. You got your inlets, and it's one of those things, guys. Running up in that river, I try to key on the temperature change, and it's one of those deals with the warm water in the lake, the cooler water coming in from the inlet. It's where a lot of the fish will hold. So make a run up in if you're out and about, not common with this, just make a run out. Run out to the upper end of the lake. Usually it's more usually in the north end of the lake, guys. The river inlets are, especially for California here. And it's one of those things. Take a run up there. When you start getting to the river, starts to the mouth of the river, slow down. Watch your graph. Like I said, your electronics are key, guys. Watch your graphs. Watch for the temperature change. Like right now, we've got 78 to 80 degree water temp in the main lake. You can start running up into some of these rivers. It'll drop from 78 to 71, and those fish are stacked right in that that temperature transition. And that's what I got here, guys. I kind of did the same thing as far as the depths. I found the water transition was at 30 feet. So what it was, I set my color coding, and from this point, you got the white area, that's the deeper water. The orange area is 30 feet to 20 feet, and then the red area is 20 feet or less. Now, doing that was where I found the transition of the water temp transition. So, or sometimes known as the thermocline. But I was up a little shallower. Usually the thermocline's out a little farther where the water transition turns over. That's kind of a whole nother topic. But right now, where the main body temp meets the inlet body temp is where a lot of the bait fish will start piling up in that cooler water, and that's where that Alabama rig is going to shine. So I always key on the river inlets, guys, and even right here alone, during the fall, we start getting a little rain, stuff like that, the feeder creeks, any inflowing water is key to throw that Alabama rig. Like I said, if you're coming off of offshore structure like we talked about, submerged points, submerged humps, hitting the feeder creeks and river inlets, little moving water, little cooler water, it stirs up stuff, and that's the bait. The bait fish will get back in there in that cooler water, and that A-rig's going to shine. So definitely a huge key. And like I said, later in the fall, we start getting a little rain. That freshwater inlet, that's going to churn up the food. Bait fish are going to come. Fish are going to come follow the bait fish to eat it. A-rig all day. Just run and gun feeder creeks and you can catch fish. All right, guys. Go to the next one here. And this I'm kind of transitioning on. We've talked about submerged points, submerged humps, the river inlets, creek channel, the river inlets and feeder creeks. I'm kind of going as a progression from summertime into the fall. Now, talking about creek channels, creek channel ledges, creek channel swings, and even another submerged point, and even bluff walls. So what we're going to talk about here, what we're looking at is coming into this thing. This is a creek channel that the Navionics has got all mapped out here, guys. Now, as far as that goes, you got creek channel ledges. Right here where the two blue pins are, you see how the lines are blurred, they're dark. Now, that's a huge factor. That's telling you something. That's a steep transition. That's going to be a break or a ledge. A lot of those fish in the fall, guys, those fish get in the creek channels, follow the bait around, and those are huge keys to locating those fish, is locating some of those ledges and even creek channel bends or creek channel points that extend out in the creek channel. Don't let this color coding throw you off, because this is all water. None of this orange and red, that's all water. That's not bank. So understanding the color coding here, this orange is in 30, the red is 20 feet or less. So this is all open water. So with this being said, out here on the tip where the tip of this orange point running out, extending into the creek channel, that would be a key area to go out and start trying to locate those fish right on the point, right in that creek channel swing. And then also you can come back to that other point where in that bend there, that I call that the swing of the creek channel, swings back around. It's got the ledge there. That right there will definitely hold fish during the fall. So picking apart the creek channels, and like I said, guys, if it wasn't for Navionics and the mapping stuff for the topographical features, you'd never know that's out there without idling around just watching your depth finder. So stack the odds in your favor. Huge key there. The swings, the ledges on the creek channel, and the points that extend out into the creek channel are key factors on locating those fish. And also, guys, the very last one here I have written on the bottom is bluff walls. Now, for guys that are in the California area, familiar with, like, say, New Melones Lake, you start running back up in the river, you'll have the steep bluff walls. And like I said, guys, here about where the blue icons are, it shows you that that's a depth change there. It's a steep break, a ledge. A lot of the stuff up there, those bluff walls are just steep. They'll drop down 25, 30, 40 feet deep, and it's just a sheer cliff. I like to target that, guys, with my umbrella rig, especially mid-morning when the sun's coming up, and it's got like a little 3 to 5 foot shade band right along that bluff wall. I like to get in there and parallel that bluff wall with that Alabama rig on the shade line. And it's one of those things, guys, get in there when you're fishing for spotted bass or largemouth, pick apart those shade lines on the bluff walls, and I'll tell you what, hang on, that's a high percentage area to get bit. So always keep that in mind, guys. Those steeper bluff walls, those fish will sit on and suspend, especially if there's a little shade. It's a key area to getting bit on an umbrella rig. All right, guys, some of the retrieves that I use. Now, what I do, guys, once you always keep in mind, you're going to locate what the fish are doing on a specific spot. Now, the fish could be suspended in the fall. They could be in a creek channel bend, out there, like as we just talked about, in a creek channel swing. And the fish could be in 80 feet of water, but they're suspended in 30. Now, once you have your bait, your Alabama rig rigged up with your baits, your heads on it, the whole nine, ready to hit the water, when you get out there, drop your bait in the water and see how fast it falls. So you kind of understand on a count how deep it's falling. If you put it in the water and free spool it, you're 1001, and it looks about a foot, you know on about 30 count that you're going to be down about 30 feet. So just kind of be able to figure out your fall rate. And remember, the bigger baits you use, it'll slow down the fall. The smaller, slimmer profile baits will fall faster. So, like I said, it's going to be one of those things I always check when I have my bait rigged. I'll pitch it in the water, watch its rate of fall, and kind of count it down. So it really comes into play whenever you've got a creek channel and the fish are suspended in it. A lot of times out here, we've got a lot of trees in the creek channels in the back of the creeks, and those fish will suspend in the very top of those trees. And it's one of those things, guys, you can throw out there and say you're in 50 feet of water, the tree's up, top of the tree, you can see it on your graph and everything's in about 20 feet. You want to count that bait down to about 18 to 20 and bring that bait just bouncing right over the top of the treetops, and those bass will come out of the tree and eat it. That's a huge key factor to catching some fish. And it's one of those things you got to count that bait down. If not, if you're using exposed hooks, it could be an expensive day. So using the weighted swim bait hooks to hook it up weedless is a key if I'm going to key on wood in a creek channel. Then I don't really have to worry as much, but I do want to make sure I'm retrieving that A-rig in the right strike zone. So if they're in 25 to 30, I want it in that range. So I want to count it down. A lot easier way to do it. It's kind of the fall transition to winter, or even right now in the summertime when these fish are out there in the deeper water. I'll throw that rig in 30 to 40 feet. I'll throw my baits with a 1/4 ounce head on them, and I'll throw that bait as far as I can, let it sink all the way to the bottom. And guys, all I'll do is pretty much bounce the bottom. I'll reel it slow, lift off, drop back, lift off, drop back, lift off, and drop back. I want bottom contact. I want it just slow and methodical, just bouncing off the bottom, staying down there. Because right now, water temps are warm. We're in the middle of summer. They're laid back off there, and they're down deep. So I just want that bait coming through, just enticing them, bouncing the bottom right there in their face, trying to trigger a strike out of them. That's a way to get bit. And also, guys, if your lake's got a lot of rock, a lot of trees, like I said, don't be afraid to throw that weighted swim bait hook. You don't even have to do the hook that's got the shiner on it, the willow blade. You could do a 3/8 weighted swim bait hook and do the same thing without the blade on it, and just throw those things weedless. So you can throw all 3 hooks with that and not have to worry about it. Throw it out there, let it drag. I mean, you can drag it on the bottom like a jig like that and not really have to worry about anything besides if you snag the head of the A-rig. But other than that, you don't have to worry about the hooks getting in anything. So if you want to get out there, build confidence in it, like I said, if you're in some sticky stuff, throw the weighted swim bait hooks, Texas rigger baits, drag them out there, you'll get bit. Now, another time, guys, if you're out there, say you're paralleling the bluff walls, or the guys that like to burn the banks, throwing it like a spinnerbait. What I always do, guys, is I'll fire that thing out there, let it fall, and when I get it to where I want it to go, the first thing I do is I pump the rod. I just kind of pump it real fast. And what that does, guys, it collapses, it like pulses the umbrella rig. And if you guys have seen videos of schools of shad on videos of schools of shad swimming in the water, you'll see them change directions, and it's weird when they do it. Everything kind of the whole bait ball pulses. So whenever you're reeling at the end, I always give it a sharp twitch. I'll give it 2 or 3 reels, twitch it. 2 or 3 reels, twitch it. Twitch it. Just keep it moving, guys. And a lot of the times, as soon as you twitch that thing, you'll get smashed. Because it's like that fish could be tracking that, your umbrella rig, thinking it's going to smash this bait ball. It's going along methodically. All of a sudden, it twitches. That's going to cause a reaction strike. It thinks that bait fish is going to flee from it. So that'll be a huge key to getting more bites. So like I said, you're reeling in every couple reels, give it a sharp twitch. Sharp twitch. Sharp twitch. And guys, like I said, it's pretty much one of those things in my head. It's like every time I twitch, I'm waiting to feel just as soon. I mean, it happens so fast. It's twitch and they'll knock slack in the line. And then they're there. So, and also, guys, throwing the A-rig, if you're using the exposed hooks, you don't have to swing for the fence on these fish when they bite. You can just reel sweep and keep reeling. And a lot of the times, guys, these fish, pack in schools, so there could be multiple. Just reel down, let the rod do the work, load up, and keep it coming. You don't have to crank on it. You can keep it coming in a steady motion, and sometimes you'll feel that extra little thump, and it'll get a little heavier. And there's chances you can actually land multiple fish. So I can't even tell you how many 2-fish combos I've had, and I've even had 3-fish combos. And it's awesome. We had one time we were up on Lake Comanche, and in one cast I had 3 fish, and for 3 fish I had 14.5 pounds. It was ridiculous. I had a 6-pound on there and a couple. One was almost 4 and the other one was a heavy 3. So it was something else. It was one of those deals. It was like right at 14 pounds for 3 fish on one cast. I thought I had a toad, but it ended up being 3 fish. So one of those things, guys, just load onto the fish, keep it coming, and never know. Could be multiples. All right, guys, like I said, we got the countdown, bottom bouncing, and then the retrieve for just open water if you're going to burn banks. Like I said, add a few twitches. That's always going to trigger an extra strike here and there. I guarantee that. It's a huge key to getting more bites. So let's go on to the next. All right, guys, this is something pretty cool. I really like this. It's just a helpful tip for throwing that, or whenever you're trying to contain the umbrella rig. It's one of those deals when you got that thing in the rod locker, it likes to grab a hold of everything, it sure seems like. So Cal Coast Fishing came out with a pretty cool thing called the bait sack. They make a larger one where it fits the whole A-rig, the baits, the whole 9 down in it, and it has a clip that clips to your rod. This right here, guys, is a savior. There's nothing like it. It'd make you pull your hair out. You're in a tournament, you make a run to your first spot, you go to grab the A-rig out, say you got a creek channel loaded with fish and they're feeding, you're just trying to get after them as soon as you can. You open that rod locker and that A-rig's got about 6 other rods tangled up. Oh man, that's not the way to start the morning. So right here, the Cal Coast Fishing bait sack is definitely a savior in that book. It keeps that thing contained. All you have to do is collapse the top portion of it, and it opens up. Slide the A-rig out, drop her in the water, go to town. Whenever you bring it back up, all you gotta do is grab your wires, form them together, slide them in, flip it to the rod, you're ready to run. So keeps that umbrella rig contained and from making a mess. Time's money on the water, guys. So just use all the keys as you can. You know, use all the benefits to your, or all the goodies to your benefits. You know. So next. All right, guys, that wraps it up for the evening. I don't want to draw it out too far. Just one of those things, kind of short and sweet. How to get the bites, how to get more bites, the locations, the setups. I think we've touched on a good amount of info on this umbrella rig. So I just want to say special thanks to River to Sea for donating an awesome tackle pack. You guys, I'll be going through, and one lucky attendee, I'll shoot you an email. Or actually, guys, whoever has attended, please send me an email to goldprec@gmail.com, and I will pick one. I'll have one of the lucky winners selected to get a tackle pack. So I'll be emailing you. Shoot me your email, and I'll email you who's the lucky winner for tonight. And River to Sea will be mailing you out a tackle pack with some rig walkers and even a bomber chute. So it'll be an awesome prize pack to win, guys. So I want to say thanks to River to Sea for their support of this webinar tonight. And like I said, I greatly appreciate all you guys for attending. And once again, right here is the Huckaby@Navionics.com. You can go ahead and send me an email to that, but I would prefer at the moment that you send it to gold, GOLDPREC@gmail.com, and I'll reply back to any questions you have and put you in the drawing for the prize pack. All right, guys, appreciate your time, and that'll wrap it up for the evening. Thanks again.